This is American Dumpster Fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the American Dumpster Fire. This is Loki.
This is Tyr.
And Odin.
And, yeah, I apologize, Britain. I heard. I'm so sorry that you got your version of Donald Trump in office. How this happened, I'll never know.
He looks more entertaining, though.
Does he?
I don't know that he does. In fact, I find it weird how similar they seem to be. He might be smarter, but like,
do you think?
I mean,
He looks like he eats crayons.
he probably does, but I'm just saying, like, comparatively.
I mean,
he looks like a pig with straw in his head. In a suit.
But like, they fucking look similar. Like, it's weird. It's weird.
Like
were they specifically chosen? Like, here's your doppelganger in a whole nother country.
right, it's worked once, why not again?
But why is it working? I have seen no support for this man, and nothing but people who are truly upset about
okay,
this.
so the only thing that I saw was the Jeremy Corbyn, the only person who really, I guess, stood a chance against him or whatever. There was some anti-Semitic something going around about him or whatever. Like they're saying he's an anti-Semite. The problem isn't the Tories, isn't Boris Johnson anti-everything? Like, doesn't he hates all the immigrants. They want to
everybody
close the
seems
borders.
to be like concerned. It basically sounds like they're worried that
So
Trump
we
is
have-
taking over there.
we have
they're
one
talking
standard
about
for one party and another for the other party, which same thing here.
Yeah, I mean, it's people are talking about how they're concerned for the poor, for the disabled. You know, like when people are being assaulted for, like, it's just like when Trump was elected,
Right,
and
right,
people
right.
were like assaulted for being different races or
Right, the
or for
worst of the
being
worst
gay.
turned out for the Conservative Party.
Right, and
Big
it seems
surprise.
like, and I'm already seeing stories about that happening over there too. People who are in England and are of other nationalities are already being attacked and having things said to them, like, you know, oh, well, you'll be out of here soon enough, you
Well,
know, like
and
things like that. And it's just like, really? It's been a day.
From what I understand, too, I mean, they've got sites on immediately dismantling the NHS over there, which is their healthcare system.
Really?
I saw
So-
a lot of people worried about healthcare.
Yeah,
They're
he
literally
wants to
turning it
sell
into
off
the
their
US.
healthcare system.
I mean,
And
Because that's
they
working
have to
so
see
well
that there
over
is
here.
savings. They've had it long enough that they should be able to
no,
see.
no, this isn't the people. The people don't want this. This is what
But who's supporting
the
this
rich
man? How did he
assholes
get elected?
No,
the
I get
Conservative
that.
Party want.
There are obviously people supporting this if this man has made it into office.
But once the system's
Once
going,
again,
they
is
have
it
well,
racism
it's just
comes
like
out
it's
on
just
top?
like here. It's like, you know, well, I don't want poor people having it, or I don't want people who need
Okay.
it having it. So I'd rather, you know, if I've got to sacrifice it so they don't have it, you know, or my taxes, you know, and it's like you have no idea what you're going to pay once this is gone.
Right.
Okay.
What they're going to be paying
Most of what I know
for
about
and-
Britain,
But I watched a video about this that they were asking people about the health care, what they thought we paid for things, and they are grossly wrong about
Yeah.
what they think we were paying way less than we are for things.
Oh, Lord.
And so I think they think it's not going to be so bad. It's like, oh, what, you take it away and, you know, prescriptions are $10. No, they're not.
No, they're not. Oh, my God. No,
You
they're
know,
not.
What do you pay for an inhaler? $100. Not if you don't have insurance, it's $350. You know,
Right.
like, you have no idea what you're going to pay once that's gone.
God, yeah, I know. But
You're so screwed.
I can't really comment a whole lot on Britain if it's not
It's the whole world.
Unless
I mean, look,
Victorian
the whole,
and earlier, that's my specialty.
The-
Modern day, I don't know much about.
but it's the whole world. The whole world is on fire. Literally, there's protests in every fucking country,
But I think
except for Northern Europe. You know, it doesn't seem to be anything in Norway or Sweden or Denmark. Go fucking figure. The people got it right. Maybe, I don't know. But the rest of the world,
one of the more
everybody's
liberal
rioting.
countries. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, I think maybe what you're seeing is people voting on single or few issues
well, yeah,
that have those attached and are willing to sell away their health care
right.
if they can get rid of, you know.
Sacrifice health care for hate. Yes.
Yeah, well, the thing is that, you know, they have a connected landmass. They have a lot of neighbors, so immigration's a different issue in their country than it is in ours.
I saw the Irish, or not. That was worded wrong. It was something from like an Irish news or something like that. That it was on Reddit or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, we're out." So, like
Right.
the Irish were like, "We're done," and then somebody was like, "I'm from Scotland. We're out too. We're done with this shit."
Out of what? I missed the first part. What you said?
They're trying to back out of like England.
Oh, they're like disassociating. or
Yep.
whatever?
Yeah, we're done with you guys.
Gotcha.
So,
I
hey,
just
I don't claim to know much about their politics, but I know that a lot of my English friends are very upset about this.
I've seen so many people on Twitter just like so upset about it. And like that's my thing. Is
and where
like,
do you go once
you
English?
You
and
guys just saw what
English.
happened over here.
Yeah.
Like you had an example. Everybody who said, "Oh, Trump being president won't be that bad," and then we proved to you that it was so much worse than you even thought it was going
well,
to be.
yeah, and then
And then you voted for this guy
Right,
anyway.
right. And they're like, "Oh, well, we'll get it right next time." Maybe you won't. The problem is they get into power, they change the rules, so it's harder to get them out of power.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
rules
Right,
don't
but
apply to them.
I don't know how much attention they're paying. I know America is very myopic. You know, national news is world news as far as we're concerned. And what happens in the world, it's a footnote. No one really cares.
But
I don't, and I know that Europe's supposed to be a little more conscious than that. But I don't know how true that is on the average person.
I think it's a misconception that anybody is more conscious than anybody else. I think that we are all just as bad.
Right. So maybe they're just laughing at Trump and not really paying attention to how bad he can be.
Well, I think it's easy to think that there's no way Boris is as awful as Trump is, but I guarantee he probably is. He's probably owned by the same people. There's these same
That's what I keep
far
wondering,
right-wing religious
The volume
organizations.
of people that I see against this man, like, really make me wonder how he won and did he win?
Well, and then Italy, I just heard, is forcing Facebook to put back up a page they took down
Okay.
of the new fascist party.
Oh.
So I think that's where the whole world is. I think what we're seeing
Why?
is why what?
Are they trying to support like public speech?
I'm
or
sure that it's guised as free speech, but I think what we have is fascists all over the world rising up in concert. I'm sure if we
I
dug
think
enough,
there's
there's
a
a place on.
connected. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's all
Well,
connected.
it's-
I think we can find a place online where
I
these
think
guys
it's-
are all conferring.
rich people seizing power through the fear of immigrants.
Right. That they're creating because they're destroying the world to make money. And so people are forced to go everywhere else. So
right, because
the
they're
real
fleeing
enemy
the
is the
fucking
wealthy.
country,
Well,
trying
there's-
to save their children, or fleeing their own countries, trying to save their children. Meanwhile, like, the rich are literally destroying every corner of this
Right.
fucking planet, and then at the same time they're taking over and like forcing this hatred amongst people, and it's working.
Well, because people on
and
the
that's the
bottom
devastating part.
are
It's fucking working.
are fighting for what resources are left, and when they see themselves on bottom, and then someone comes in who's going to work for a quarter of that. Yeah,
But the problem is
I could
that-
I could see how people could get.
yeah, we need a global standard of living.
that's
just
exactly it.
and we need to stop letting the rich tell you that it's the poor's fault that the middle class is suffering. It is the rich that are at fault for all of this.
Obviously, they're funneling money to the top. They now write the fucking laws to make this happen. And literally, there is nothing that the poor dude next to you who's just trying to get fucking healthcare and make sure his children live is doing to make your life worse. Literally nothing.
I mean,
Until there's a minimum that is the absolute minimum that all countries have to live by, like pay, quality of life, healthcare, whatever. Until we have an established baseline, you're always going to have someone exploiting somebody, and then people fleeing and willing to do more for less.
exploitation needs to be illegal. It's plain and simple. And the problem is that
As long as there's someone to
no,
exploit,
well,
you will.
it's not just that we nobody makes anybody pay for it, right? I mean, now me and you, we're subject to the laws because we're not super wealthy, but the super wealthy are not subject to the laws. The IRS admitted that they don't do audits on the wealthy because they don't have the resources to do so, because the wealthy have the resources to hide their money. And it would take a real agent with real power to be able to search for that kind of stuff and
And
find
a
out where they're
protection.
hiding stuff.
It'd be a protracted legal process, and they don't have the time
So-
or the resources.
No, the problem is that they would probably get a fucking windfall if they ever found anything. But the wealthy can just keep you running in circles for forever,
Well, yeah,
chasing your
'cause,
ass.
I mean, I think their fair rate is something like, I can't even recall. It keeps moving around, but it was like 29%. But they'll after all said and done, it's somewhere like 15, and then most of them don't even pay 5. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, the super wealthy pay almost nothing.
Yeah, some
In fact,
some actually get refunds out of grants.
I was listening to a show. It was a podcast where the guy was talking to a man whose job was to set up the super wealthy with fallout bunkers and like serious doomsday shit. And he gets referred by financial advisors and these people who basically manage your money if you're super wealthy. And that guy isn't just that. Like they hire you to do that stuff, but they expect you to be there. The super wealthy expect them to be there at the drop of a hat, like fly halfway around the world when they need them for some dumb shit, like I got drunk and arrested in Italy, or something like that. And then you're supposed to show up, bail them out, and make sure this is all hidden. And
it's like a fixer.
Yeah, but that's not what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be financial advisors. But the wealthy don't care. They test you. They play with people like they're toys. They don't think like us.
Well, because they don't have
like
responsibility because they've never been held to it.
Borders don't apply to the super wealthy.
Of course
In
not.
fact, passports don't apply to super wealthy. They hop on their plane. They go wherever the hell they want. And most of them never even pass through a terminal. That's what I'm saying. These people are dangerous. The super wealthy are a danger to the world.
I would tend to agree.
Well, yeah, I've also heard...
This is Dr. Evil shit.
You take private plane, you don't go through TSA. So, who knows?
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, they could be terrorists for all you know.
Or smugglers or any number of things.
I feel like they are like domestic terrorists at this point.
Well, when you amass that much wealth and force your workforce to live in poverty because you won't pay them enough...
Right. And they're literally living off the government, which means taxpayers are paying your employees' salaries, which means you shouldn't be running that fucking company.
Right. Yeah, no. I think that if you're going to underpay your employees or what have you, then you should at least pay that much more in taxes.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is that
At which point makes no sense because you might as well just pay your fucking employees.
It's no longer lucrative to
But
fuck
that's
people.
the bottom line, is that companies who are bringing in profits should be penalized when their employees have to be on government aid in order to survive.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Is I think it should be illegal that if they could work 40 hours, and I know your purpose is going to cut their hours so they don't, but if you could project them to work 40 hours and they have to go on welfare because of what you're paying them after 40 hours, that's not a minimum wage.
Well,
that should just straight up be illegal because you're forcing the average citizen to subsidize that income.
It's common sense, but our government is run by these corporations, and therefore all the rules work in their favor.
This is an easy fix. First off, you don't run healthcare through your workplaces, period.
I completely agree.
That should specifically be, and it's unethical, by the way, to profit off of healthcare. So, I mean...
What?
It's unethical. It is unethical to do healthcare for profit.
In what place is that ever not done? I mean,
I agree completely.
What facet of medicine is profit free?
I agree completely.
The Cleveland Clinic, one of the biggest corporations in the world, is a nonprofit.
Stop looking at it as, a doctor should be making money to pay off his school loans, and look at it as you have the capability to heal the man in front of you. Without you, he's going to die and leave his children alone. Is it ethical for you to just walk past when you have the capability to heal him?
And it's not even that simple. Look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be paying the nurses and the doctors and what have you.
They go to
I'm not saying that we shouldn't be paying
I'm
them
not saying
either.
we shouldn't be paying for the medications and everything. What I'm saying
Stop
is
jacking up the prices
marking
ridiculously.
up these ridiculously insane prices.
Well,
First
that's
off,
from the insurance companies.
I think up to a master's degree,
maybe we
that
need
doctor
to
shouldn't
reconsider
be paying
the role
for
of the
school
insurance
anyways.
companies.
I mean, when we do for-profit education, and some of these doctors are walking away with between $100,000 and $500,000 in debt coming out of school, that's fucking stupid.
And having to cover insurance.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. And then all this other stuff. It's all a scam. We're being scammed, and it starts at the very beginning. I mean, from the very start, the scam starts, and then it just rolls downhill and catches the rest of us in it.
Right.
I mean, until the people who have the least capability, who've started with the least resources, can never get out of their position of poverty that they were born into.
We're reaching a point with how much these prices are being jacked up. We're reaching a point where we no longer have the right to life. That is right there. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We do not.
Well,
The right to life is now a privilege of the rich.
you're going to be forced to give birth to children that can't afford to, you can't afford to take care of, and won't be able to afford to get out of their position.
I was
eventually.
going to say you can't even afford to give birth to the fucking children. Do you know
Oh,
how
yeah.
much those hospital bills are?
Seriously. Yeah, we're going to end up with a very dangerous situation in this country very soon, and a lot of it is because
We're reaching that point
almost
now.
all of it is because of the religious right wing, and
I'm not sure I see the tie-in there.
Oh, I agree. Those
Well, I'm
people,
not saying I disagree. I just
you must be tired that you can't see this forced birth campaign that they're
Oh,
pushing
okay,
on everybody.
okay.
They're the ones who are fighting against healthcare for all. They're trying to force their ridiculous moralities from their cult on the rest of us.
Okay, so you're saying that, like, if we had universal health care, like single payer, you're saying then they would have to de facto subsidize procedures they would not agree with.
No, that's not even when it doesn't even matter if that's the case. I don't care if you paid for an abortion on your own. In fact, abortions aren't subsidized. They never were.
Abortions are not allowed to be funded by federal government. There's a law against it. All those conservatives are constantly claiming, oh, well, the government pays for abortions. No, they fucking do not.
It's a blatant lie.
They
and know it.
absolutely do not. The federal money cannot go to an abortion procedure. Everybody says, oh, well, how would you even know? Because Planned Parenthood does those and the government gives them money and blah, blah, blah. The same fucking way your health insurance knows whether or not they're paying for your procedure. They know every little fucking thing that you got, down to the Tylenol that they opened for you. They know what they're paying for. They know what they're not paying for. And it's no different when Planned Parenthood bills the government for, whatever money they get out of them for cancer screenings and birth
So
control.
then what's religious tie-in from your point of view?
Well, in the case of Planned Parenthood, the big organizations against not only Planned Parenthood and birth control are crisis pregnancy centers owned by churches, and they are a scam.
Oh, yeah.
Where they try to talk you into other ways and everything. It is a complete money-making scheme.
Well, they set
In
themselves
fact,
up nearby.
They are making money to talk to you about. This isn't a charity.
Really?
It's set up as a charity. It's, it's the right charity paperwork, but they're making money off of this. It's all a money making scheme off the backs of the government.
Yeah,
and the
they're really
people.
scummy. They name themselves, they place themselves, they make themselves look like a Planned Parenthood.
Right.
But they're not a Planned Parenthood.
Right.
It's it's borderline fraud, and
It should be fraud, yeah. But I mean, there are
Anytime
in Ohio.
Go ahead.
We're having this issue with these right-wing religious organizations trying to force bills. It's actually called a bill mill that they've created to force their agendas on the rest of us. If religion's going to try and get into politics, we should be taxing the shit out of them.
First of all, they have no place in politics.
Oh, I agree. There
It
should
is
be a
written
firm wall of
into the
separation.
bones of this very country. It is unpatriotic to have a church involved in any process within the government.
Right.
Second of all, I actually read a story about this woman who was, and here's the thing, is like they're so anti-abortion, blah, blah, blah. But this woman, it was her sister or her friend or something, had accidentally gotten pregnant. And her family was within a very strict church, and she had wanted to have an abortion. And the church was completely against it. They basically held her against her will and bullied her into changing her mind about having the abortion. And then when it came to later in the pregnancy term, and here's how much they give a fuck about life, her doctor warned her that you are having health issues, that if you don't have an abortion, this is going to kill you. And still the church pressured her and told her that she was selfish and an awful person and all this stuff, that if she went through with an abortion, that she was going to hell. And they basically harassed and tortured her until she fucking didn't do it. And in the end, both her and the baby died because she let the church bully her into continuing with a pregnancy that she knew was going to kill her. And so that's how much they care about life.
Right. Yeah. It's
not
it's
about
about
life.
control, and
It's
it's about
about
making
control.
money off of people.
Well,
The
that's not
whole
much,
thing is a scam.
that's not much different than I remember a couple years ago, a Christian Science family in Florida that let their 2 kids die because they weren't vaccinated.
Anti-vaxxers the best. That one started as a scam from the very beginning. The guy who started the whole anti-vax movement was
That's
trying
not
to sell
even
something to that
something
effect.
new, though. There's plenty of
Well, no-
people who don't believe, they believe God will save them and no medical procedures are
Oh yeah,
necessary.
well with them that is the case. Christian scientists they just don't believe in
It was
that.
something like that. I don't remember the news item very clearly.
But the whole anti-vax scam started with a guy trying to sell an alternative to vaccines that didn't work. Like this, it was just a scam to make money.
Yeah, it was.
And
Yeah,
people
I
just
vaguely
believed
remember
it.
that.
It was
Yeah.
this
And
one British doctor.
yeah, it was one doctor selling his scam alternative to vaccines, and it's just and then people latched onto his stuff, which was completely falsified.
We spent millions upon millions of dollars over a 20-year period in a exacting study to completely and utterly refute it on every single vaccine.
And you're just going to
And
always have idiots
no one
who
believes it.
still, yeah. Well, no, I mean, anti-vaxxers are actually an extreme minority. There's not a ton of them, but there's enough of them to cause real damage to communities, and because they tend to weld together, right? It's one idiot infects a bunch of other idiots, and the next thing you know, you've got 20 toddlers who aren't vaccinated, a measles outbreak happens, and a bunch of kids die because they're morons.
And not just those kids, but your kids who have the vaccine, but for whatever reason it didn't take.
Or
your kid's susceptible.
in my case, I'm immune compromised. I have never been able to develop the titer for chickenpox, for varicella. Just can't develop it. I've had it 4 times, and at my age, it'll kill me.
And it's this is known as herd immunity. And the idea is that if we're all vaccinated, those that are most susceptible will never experience it because there's no carriers around them.
So thank you to all
Or
you
her.
people who get vaccinated. So
But yeah, the rest of you, you're endangering other people, and that is where freedom's supposed to end. When the second that your freedom
Infringes
hurts
on somebody else's.
exactly, it's no longer freedom.
Right.
And yet somehow it is because religion. We hold religion to be
And
so
that's the
sacred,
thing
which
is we
I
make
know
too
it's an
many-
ironic turn
no,
of
no,
phrase, but
I agree that you have
No.
religious freedom.
Yeah, freedom is
Till
important.
yourself.
till it hurts another.
That's the thing is when religion infringes in the sense that other people are dying, other people are getting hurt, other people are being literally tortured in the name of religion.
Right.
Cough. What's the gay camps? What are they called?
Oh, the
Conversion camps. That's
Yeah.
the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Is it
Child
still
abuse.
acceptable?
Child abuse in the name of a
Oh, it
church
still exists.
program.
Wait. No. Is conversion therapy still acceptable if I'm trying to convert, say, religious people? Is that different?
Is that according to your religion? Because
Well,
this is
why are-
literally they get away with literally damaging.
You can say your
these
religion is
people.
whatever you want. They
They're-
completely make this shit
it's
up as they go along.
Fucking child abuse, and they get away with it in the name of
Yeah, no,
religion.
it's disgusting. It's totally disgusting. And that's my point, is people like Michelle Bachmann, who were invested in those things, can we convert her for being evil? You know, can we put her in our conversion camp where we attach electrodes to her head and say, hey,
No,
God
because
doesn't
she's a
talk to you, you
full-grown-
fucking freak.
She's a full-grown adult. If you had a child, however, the most vulnerable amongst you, you
Right.
can torture them in the name of religion.
I mean, I personally think that we shouldn't be forcing things on children, but rather when you turn 18, you can make the decision on your own, you know? I don't know. Like, I always took that approach with my kid.
Yeah,
Is
The conversion therapy, like,
No, I'm saying, like, with religion, I don't
no, I
think you
know,
should.
Right.
I know, but like, and I mean, I get that it's like extreme circumstances. They send them off to these things where they're literally like, I don't know. I've read several accounts of it, and every fucking time it is like absolutely heartbreaking. Like they're separated from their family. Their families are warned, like, hey, there's like a 50% chance your kid's gonna kill themselves
Right.
after going through this, and the parents still agree.
Yeah,
They're
because they
like,
think it's
I'd
preferable to
rather-
being gay.
yeah, I'd rather have my kid dead than gay, and it's just fucking horrifying. Like
I'd rather have parents that
heartbreaking.
aren't filth.
Like,
you know.
oh, here's your little summer camp. We're gonna torture you
You
for
ever
a
s-
whole, couple
ever-
of months.
You ever see the movie But I'm a Cheerleader?
I have, yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
It's
RuPaul,
hilarious.
I love it.
And it's dark because you take out the humor, and it's like, yeah, those exist.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't have kids. I'd like to, but it hasn't happened yet. But I struggle with this notion because, like, you don't want to indoctrinate your kids, but you do want to share
It's
your
not as hard as you
wisdom.
think.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
You're-
I told my
you
kid
wanna
what I
help your-
believe, but then I also said there's a bunch of books on all these other religions there
Right.
on the bookshelf. Read them all.
I mean, you at least wait till they're
kid's a
15 to
parrot
try
of
and
you.
make them commit to anything, and even then, 18. It's like their brain's still forming, and anything before that almost feels like brainwashing.
It's not as hard as you think, though. Like, I'll tell you that my religion is very not aligned with any kind of organized religion. I don't like organized religion of any kind, pretty much. But I mean, that's not to say I'm a complete atheist either. Like,
Who takes your money?
I think there could be something. I donate my money where I choose, and it's never to a church. Anyway.
But how do you know it's not going to get wasted on on terrorism?
On terrorism?
Well, that's what the many Christian charities
but the point
end up funneling money to terrorism.
The point is
Are you talking about like abortion bombings?
There's a bunch of right-wing psychopathic shit out there that they're funneling money to.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But, like, on the flip side, my kids also were involved in, like, church and stuff through their father's side that I had nothing to do with. And they still came to their own conclusions by the time they hit teenagers, They knew what they believed and what they didn't believe, and they'd probably never set foot in a church again, but that wasn't my influence, it was there for them to make their own decisions.
I don't know. It's just, having grown up in that environment, I find it just weird taking a kid who can't comprehend what's around him and then just throwing all of that on him, be it...
Well, the first thing I taught my kid was critical thinking and the scientific method. Once they knew that, they were able to make more logical decisions on things. Then I said, read everything. Learn whatever you need to learn.
I think that my kids just saw, like, how very judgy some of the people involved in the church were, and they were kind of like, no thanks, and they just kind of didn't want anything to do with it, and I couldn't blame them for that. But also, like, I think that one of my kids is a complete atheist, and the other one just, organized religion isn't for him, and that's cool. Whatever they believe, but I mean, I never absolutely forced my ideas on them.
My kid read part of the Bible, and it was like, what the hell?
Oh my God. I took when I was
Talk about needing an editor.
When my oldest kid was little, like a year old, I took him to church. And I was like, well, it's good for them to know what's going on, right? And to give them, like, the opportunities to figure it out for themselves. And then the priest started rambling about women being subservient to their men. And I'm like, fucking earmuffs covering my kids' ears. I'm like, really? That was the last time I went. I'm like, nope, I'm out.
I think she was Episcopalian. I was watching a speech from a minister, female minister, and it was smart stuff. It wasn't like specifically religion, but there was like some physics and other science in there. But she happened to be a minister or whatever.
Sure.
First freaking comment under the video was the whole verse about how women aren't supposed to preach to men and stuff like that.
It's such bullshit. Like, yeah, that was my last straw. Like, because I was never very religious. And to be honest with you, I don't think that my ex was religious either, but they did the whole, PSR thing for, I think it was honestly more for keeping up appearances than anything else.
That's a big thing in it.
So, like, whatever. And it kind of was what it was. But, like, that sermon, I was like, that's fucking it. I'm out,
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, what are you... But overall, I don't think religion is a terrible thing.
No, the institutions
are.
We've
turned it
well,
into.
The problem is when it's weaponized the way it's been recently.
We've perverted religion into this disaster.
These far right-wing Christian Bill Mills and stuff like that. And then there's these organizations, these gay hate organizations and build the wall organizations and stuff like that. And they're all Christian organizations, specifically religious organizations.
I will say
it's the largest
that I
religion
have seen
here.
a small, select, very small churches that like openly advertise with their rainbows and everything that they are open to everybody. And
I've seen them too. They tend to be Lutheran
or Universal.
Universal, but they're always very small churches. Your big mega churches, like with the like heavy like.
Well, those are about profit.
Well, yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Brimstone
it's like
sells.
your bigger churches and your
will burn
bigger,
in hell if you don't put a 20 in a
religions,
collection plate.
I feel like those are the ones that are more judgy. I mean, the only time I've ever seen the more welcoming churches, they're little tiny like non-denominationals or something.
If your church is the size of a mall, you're probably being scammed.
Yeah.
Or in a mall. Yeah. Have you seen those?
I mean, look, if a storefront in a mall is what you can afford, it's whatever. But I mean, I've seen some of these priests driving like brand new freaking Mercedes, and they're talking about, oh, God wants me to have a jet.
What?
No.
Yeah, no.
Yes, that's
an
thing.
actual interview. That
Yeah.
guy is hilarious.
I mean, when Joel Osteen has a $10 million house, and then turns away people who need help, up to the point, of course, to where he's been called out enough times.
Are you talking about the storms? What
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that?
What a piece of shit.
Hurricane or something.
Joel Osteen is a piece of shit.
That's something I'd like to address, because people like to talk a lot about how various religious organizations do charity work.
No, they don't.
And there's good and bad. And
The
there's a lot
small
we can get
churches tend
into.
to do the most charity work. It's the big organizations that tend to do shit.
And I would love to get
And
into
missionary is not charity. You're ruining those countries.
that. But what I was trying to state is that the only reason that they're doing charity work is because we're not. I mean, yeah, you can do a tax write-off or you can give money to a charity, but those are usually religious in origin.
Well, they're usually padding their pockets heavily.
Yes, I know. Again, we'll get back to that. My point is that if we were taking care of our citizens so that we didn't need charities,
Fact.
you wouldn't have as much power in these churches and all that money that's not going to them. For every dollar you spend, you're lucky if you get 96%. Usually, it's closer to 5%.
Okay.
If you investigate some of these charities,
yeah.
it's frightening how much is not going
Right.
anywhere useful. And half the time, like you'll have
They
some
say,
like
what's the average one? 10 cents on the dollar, they say, or something like that. 10 cents on the dollar goes towards the actual
right. It's
charity
insane.
work.
But like there was a tsunami in China. There was some organization who was like bringing them sandwiches, but before they got that, they had to grab a Bible, and it was like, what are you doing?
Okay,
what
first
are
off,
you doing?
That's not charity. It is not charity if you are forcing your religion on them. If you're forcing them to listen to you preach,
right.
Or
that's a timeshare.
they're paying for it by having to listen
have
to you.
steak and
That's-
listen to this 2-hour lecture on what
Yeah, you gave me a job. Because
strong arming.
you're right. It's a timeshare. I go and I want to see Disney. Oh, well, if you sit through a lecture, we'll give you Disney tickets. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing.
right. And that's why I think that
is.
we should get,
And it's disgusting.
we should get these broken down apartment buildings, refurbish them, and just give them away free. Just free as condos.
Oh, you can't do that.
to the homeless, and you can box them up in these high towers.
No,
and take up very
capitalism.
little space.
But then who would lower middle class be able to pee on?
Because then, okay, I mean, you got to think
Who
about
would they look
how you
down
can
on?
you can keep them on medicine. You can keep them from committing crimes. You can keep your streets clean. You'll end up saving money.
No, they would end up saving money. But literally, the people who voted for Trump, who are not rich, are literally like living for the fact that they can look down on those people.
Or the fact that half of them are veterans. I mean, come on. I mean, there's
is
so
like
much good you could
One
be
of
doing.
the most offensive things to me in this country is that we literally have veterans living on the street or deported or pulled out of the military because they were trans, or like the way that we piss on our military is just
But-
appalling to me.
I think the last thing I read about it, about the homeless population overall in America, is it is largely veterans and children. If you pooled the two groups together, children and veterans, that makes up the majority of
I
the
believe
homeless.
the majority of children that are homeless
people off
are
meds.
quite often LGBT that have been kicked out of their house.
That may be so, but between children and veterans, they make up the majority of homeless.
That's horrifying.
So
It is.
what we're saying as America is we're okay with this. We're okay leaving them on the streets because we could easily do something about it. But more often than not, we don't. Not only do we not, but there are organizations that fight against it.
And that's the thing is that
and what
as
is
long
their
as-
reasoning?
as long as you have,
Capitalism.
well, I was going to say it could go back to the churches because
Oh, maybe, yeah, because there are some churches that want their jurisdiction over charity work.
that's exactly what
and
I'm
stuff like
saying.
that. Yeah, no,
Because what function does a church have if it doesn't have a charitable arm?
brainwashing.
But that's the whole point of the collection plate. Anytime that I've gone, it's
No.
And
what
we're
charitable
back to
works
the
are going to be doing
conversion
with it.
therapy.
No, the collection plate is there for the Mercedes and the second airplane. You know, I got to have a nice airplane just like that Reverend down the street. He's got a great private jet.
No, that's
Mine should have gold
I thought
trim.
that they had to give up everything in order to dedicate their lives to God
no,
and blah, blah, blah.
prosperity
That's
ministry is
Franciscans.
all
Okay,
prosperity
that's not priests,
ministry
that's
is
monks.
all about leeching off of your parishioners.
Oh.
You know, oh, if I believe in Jesus, I'll have someday. No, you won't. Your pastor's taking it all. It's a scam.
I mean,
Well, obviously,
well,
those
look at
are-
Mother Teresa. Everyone wants to hold her up as a saint, and I think she actually did get canonized.
Canonized.
Yeah, whatever. Who gives a crap? If you actually, there was an HBO documentary where she was still alive, and it was scathing. And it wasn't the only one. There was follow-ups.
Oh, no. Yeah, there's a bunch of
Okay.
stuff on how awful
She
she
had
was.
in
Really?
India
Oh, yeah.
what was called a dying center. Now she was given
Through
immense
suffering,
funds,
we find
immense
God.
funds, where she could have just bought antibiotics, painkillers, all kinds of stuff to mitigate or even cure a lot of the suffering. But they identified suffering with becoming Jesus-like, being Christ-like, you becoming holier in your
Who
suffering.
identified that?
Her whatever psychotic sect.
Oh,
Okay,
Lord.
yeah.
Catholic.
It was saintly to die in pain.
See, when I was a kid, Catholicism didn't seem so crazy. I mean, some of the ideas were weird because I grew up Catholic, and it didn't seem so nutty when I was a kid. And I'm like, okay, the story's weird, but the Catholics I knew didn't seem crazed. But now it's become a whole other thing. They're
I
so
feel-
militantly
I think you're just-
anti-gay.
I feel like religion has absolutely grown in its radical, in its
Well, it's-
radicalization. It's-
numbers are dwindling, and as the numbers go down, the more concentrated psychopathy it seems to hold. You know,
I don't know. I just know that like the hate came out of the woodwork, and it really has hidden behind religion quite a bit these past few years.
I had
It's
heard.
scary.
I had heard that the problem is that less and less of the moderate Christians stayed within the churches to buffer that. You know, and so now you're getting
There's
left
okay.
with the real crazies. You know,
So it's like if all the Democrats just flee the U.S. and that would be the
oh
country.
yeah.
F.
No, yeah. All of a sudden, America would burst into flames.
like what's that Amazon story that everyone loves, the Bridesmaid's Tale? They would just morph into that overnight.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about it either.
You've lost us.
All right. Well, there's plenty of people that do.
It's on Amazon.
I think so.
Oh, see, I don't
I've
have-
yet to watch it, but
don't
I
have
know
Prime
about it.
because Amazon is evil. Jeff Bezos is fucking evil.
It comes with
He
Prime.
is.
It's a good deal.
I'm not gonna get Prime, and I'm not gonna get Disney
I
Plus.
don't.
Fuck
I
you
don't
both.
want to end this without going over Betsy DeVoss.
Do
my,
it.
My favorite person in government,
The Wicked Witch of the wherever.
basically. So do we know what exactly happened with her? We have that Betsy DeVoss overruled a plan to help college students defrauded by for-profit colleges.
And I'll have that one
Because
opened up so you're on your own for a second.
Why would we want to help college students who have been defrauded, right?
Because she herself is a fraud.
It was recommended that they forgive student loans for 200,000 defrauded borrowers. And, of course, being in the position she's in, she overruled that whole...
Those are her friends and family members that own those fraudulent colleges and stuff like that.
I know it's such a conflict.
I
of
thought she
interest.
personally owned a lot of
She owns the
student
collection
debt.
agencies.
Okay.
So the whole thing, this goes back to what I was saying. It's all a fucking scam. We are in the midst of the biggest game. It's no coincidence that the minute Trump got elected, that suddenly you started getting scam calls and scam emails
Oh,
off the
God.
fucking charts.
Oh my God!
It's not a
calls.
coincidence.
It's
Oh, yeah,
ridiculous.
she's a piece of
You
work.
fell for Trump. Now we're going to try and sell you any piece of crap we can because obviously there's enough of you out there that'll buy it.
Right.
I don't know. It always. There was always a little bit of corruption. There was always a little bit of scamming going on. But oh my God!
The level. Well, okay, look, we got Betsy DeVoss, who owns a collection agency in charge of the Department of Education. Now, mind you, the woman has no higher education. Her only talent is being a billionaire who owns a collection agency. Okay, she has no other talent involved in this. She knows nothing. She can't teach. She can't do shit. She is basically a useless piece of shit with a yacht, and that's it. And I'm friends with
She's
Trump.
very rich.
Yeah, she's very, very rich. And I hope she sinks in that fucking yacht one day. But anyways.
Well, she also has something to do with the
Remember when someone scratched it?
adoption agencies,
$10,000
right? That are
$10,000
that
for a
are
scratch.
selling the kids that are being caged.
If it's evil, she probably eats them. But if it's evil, she's doing it. Okay. And then you have Purdue in charge of the Department of Agriculture. Of course, more than likely funneling aid to himself and all of the other corporate farmers, and leaving out any of the
The little
the
people.
civilian farmers,
Right.
people who can't afford, to buy their way into contracts and stuff like that. So, I mean, and it's just a never-ending shitstorm of bullshit where, oh, this guy can profit off of this position. I'm going to stick him in there. Why is there no fucking ethics clause to stop this shit? Why do we not have a committee to fucking be like, no, and oust their ass?
Because these things should look bad on a president. Because before Trump came into play, I don't think that we thought we had to put those restrictions
We're
in
not
place.
even looking at this, though. Nobody's...
And then also, it doesn't. If the restrictions were in place, if these guidelines that said, "Hey, you can't put in some like horrible greedmonger into this position," who's going to profit off of
Right.
being in office, like even if that rule was there, Trump wouldn't obey it, and even if he
like his taxes.
yeah, even if he went about it anyway, and he was blatantly like doing things he shouldn't be doing, we wouldn't do shit about it. So what the fuck does it matter?
I really, I hope so bad to see every last one of them in
Jail?
adjoining
Yes.
jail cells.
God, I would
If he
love to
goes
see them in
down,
jail.
there might be some follow-up.
No, I hope it's a big squeal fest, right?
I hope.
That this, and I think it stars Giuliani. I was thinking that it might be Barr, but I think it might be Giuliani. And there's a little conflict between Barr and Giuliani, where Barr is trying to make it seem like Giuliani, and Giuliani's
Yeah.
terrible. But Barr seems jealous that Giuliani has like Trump's ear or something like that. Like they're both wanting to like suckle on his teats or whatever. And
That was a disturbing visual.
and
I'm seeing it in an SNL sketch right now.
but but if Giuliani goes down, I think that's Dems. Listen, take him down. I think that's where the squealing starts. Well, the squealing started a long time ago when he got elected, but I think that he'll start selling everybody out.
Well-
It'll all be a domino effect.
Like a card game, you've dirtied it with Trump. So today in Trump,
Oh boy, what do you do this time?
well, no, they've finally went ahead and came up with the 2 charges they're going to vote on next week.
I thought they came up a few days ago, but what were they?
Okay, so obstruction of Congress and Jesus, damn it, on the spot now I forgot. Abuse of
Corruption.
power.
Abuse of power.
Yeah, and so we'll finally see what happens, and I'm sure what is absolutely going
roll-
to happen is what we totally predict: the House will convict, the Senate will not, and then nothing will happen.
Because Mitch McConnell is a corrupt son of a bitch. So that's just how it is. And unfortunately, the stars aligned and the gates of hell opened up and gave us this corrupt fucking pyramid scheme that we've gotten in our government right now. It seems like we need superheroes to fight this shit or something.
What I'm
it's
desperately
a
hoping.
holy disaster. I don't even know how you fix it at this point. It's a disaster.
The purge.
I mean, maybe.
The actual purge.
Yeah.
Like that's because it always backfires on the real bad guys,
Take
right?
the holy
guys at
water,
top.
because I think they're gonna need the holy water.
So yeah, this is gonna be sizzling. Could you imagine if somebody slipped Mitch McConnell some holy water in his coffee and he just
Oh my
starts
God.
sizzling? No,
His skin melts off. Yeah.
Like a slug.
He is a slug. Those arms aren't real. They come off. So,
I don't know. My most desperate hope is that there are some Republican senators who are pretending to go along with all of this, and in the very last minute, it'll be like, now convict.
it'll be
That's
interesting.
a little optimistic.
It'll
It
be-
is,
it'll
but it's
be-
the only chance we have,
It'll be interesting to see how many of them are puppets and how
because
many
there's
aren't.
no way that if they were going to
Yeah.
vote that way, they would tell
So
anybody.
many.
Well, I mean,
I'd
Mitch
be
McConnell
thrilled.
said he'd be
They
surprised.
support him no matter what.
Not all of them are getting to suckle on his teats, though. So
No, I know. They're just too
I
fucking
know they're
chicken
hopeful.
shit. They're spineless. I
But-
don't think that there's a single Republican in the Senate right now who is not completely spineless.
Well, he's only got so many teats, and he's already got what? He's got
it doesn't
McConnell.
matter.
He's
It
got
doesn't
Nunes.
matter if he's doing
got
anything
Jim
for
Jordan.
them.
He's got Stefanik. How many does he have? I mean, he's got a lot of pigs suckling right now. So
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if he's doing anything for them. They would need a spine to stand up against him,
well, I think
and they
that
don't have one.
I
his
don't-
blatant corruption kind of covers up all the shady shit they're doing. Because you're looking at this train
Right.
wreck, and you're not looking at what they're doing on the
Right.
state level.
Right. Yeah, so I just don't see it happening. As much as I would love to see Trump and Pence and DeVos in jail, I don't think anything's going to come of it.
You make it sound like, okay, with the whole spineless thing, I don't think anyone's that afraid of them. I think they're using him. I think they love
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's a smokescreen.
That too, but I also think that they would be threatened if they stood up against him. In fact, we know that they'd be threatened because look at the people who testified
Look at
against
Epstein.
him. They were
I
fucking
know he had
threatened.
Epstein killed.
Oh, yeah. Like that dude, yeah, like they're spineless. They're not going to fucking do it.
Epstein's never gonna tell that I touch little girls. Have him killed. Like that's who he is. He's a fucking mobster. So, you guys got anything else?
I mean, no.
Existential angst.
Yeah, that too.
Well, as depressing as that is, keep on resisting. Follow us at @fire_American on Twitter, and comment. Give us message us, whatever. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. This was bleak. See you next time.
Yeah.